Hey guys, Delta Canucking here, and I have a really different video for you guys today. The gameplay you're going to be seeing is from a game called Journey. I don't really want to explain it beyond that, but it's a really good game, and it's something that is very, very different. And the commentary topic, well, as you've probably figured out from the title, have video games become too violent? This is something I've been wondering lately. After seeing videos for some recent releases and playing some of these recent releases myself. And first off, I want to state that I'm not one of these people saying, violent video games will make a person violent. I think that's a complete bull. If anything, violent video games help me kind of, let my anger out on something else when I was being bullied in elementary and middle school. That said, they could be the trigger, the spark that makes someone violent. But the thing is, that's a person that's already unstable, and they could be set off by anything. It just happens to be a video game that was at the cause for, them snapping and going crazy and doing whatever they do. So that's really my stance on the whole violent video games thing. But I have been asking myself lately, are games going too far with the violence? What has changed now that even me, someone who's fairly desensitized to violence, I've played every God of War game except Ascension, and actually I played the beta and the demo of that, so I've played pretty much every God of War game, and I'm fairly desensitized to the violence, but lately there have been some specific scenes in games that have me turning away, that I'm just kind of feeling, oh god, that's not right, that's gross, that's fucked up, that's really disgusting, I can't look at that, I feel sick. And what is the reason for this? There's a couple things that I think could be. Some games could just very well be going too far with their violence. Not just going too far with the violence, is that they don't justify it. A game like God of War, that fits in with the tone of the game perfectly, and I think you can you can overlook it because of that. But then a game that tries to be more realistic, when you get this kind of silly and gratuitous violence, it's just really really? Was that necessary? Did we need to see that? And there's going to be two examples I'm going to use here. But my next point is maybe it's not just that the violence has become too much. Maybe the violence has kind of stayed the same as it always is. It's just that graphics in games have become too good. The fidelity of graphics is too high, and things just look so real to the point that, it's like, okay, that's too far, right? That just looks wrong. And I think a good example of that is in God of War 3, when, spoiler alert if you haven't played the game, when the player, as Kratos, rips the head of Helios off his body, just rips it right off, and you see the flesh and muscle and everything just stretching and tearing individually, and it just looks absolutely disgusting. And while you can generally justify much of the violence in God of War as, it's the tone of the story, it's a revenge story, it's over the top, it's in bad taste, it's meant to be that way. But that is one that is okay, that's a little gross. But like I said, it can be justified. The other example is from the new Tomb Raider game. This is a game that I absolutely adore. I'm not saying this is a knock on the game, but there's one sequence in particular where Lara Croft is basically falling down a waterfall, or a river waterfall type thing, and there are these barricades all over the place, and you have to shoot them. If you steer off to the side too much, or you just don't shoot the barricade, she crashes into it and gets this giant, 6 to 8 foot long spike through her neck and through her head. And, there are plenty of gross death scenes in a game like Dead Space, which I'm a huge fan of. But the thing with Dead Space is there's blood all over the screen, so you can't really see what's going on, and when the really gross stuff happens, like Isaac's body gets ripped in half, it cuts away really quickly. With this particular scene in Tomb Raider, it lingers for 2, 3, 4 seconds, and you see this character in Lara that the game does a really good job of getting you attached to struggle for life before it cuts away to a loading screen. And that's just one thing, and that's one specific death scene. There are a few death scenes in the game that I just kind of had to stop and turn away because I felt sick. I'm like, was that necessary? And I think that's the problem. Games are becoming really gratuitous with the violence. It's a combination of just being really gratuitous with the violence. It's unnecessary. It can't be justified. And the graphics are becoming too good, too realistic. So these things make an even stronger impact on us than they would if these kind of death scenes were in a game, 15 years ago. So, what is next? What is next for the developers to do? Because they have all this issue. They got all this pressure from all sorts of different places because, there are people who see violent video games as an issue that they can cause mental health issues, even though I disagree strongly with many of those statements, those positions. I don't know. So what can developers do? Do they tone down the violence? I think some games will have to tone down the violence. Others can justify violence. Tomb Raider as a series is one that I believe they will really just need to justify what goes on, because it tries to be a very realistic, gritty game, and if it can justify those death scenes and the violence in the game, I can overlook it. I can be, okay, you know what? That is in line with the game. It's justified because of this. And then other games like God of War, I think they will just have to become more stylized and over the top and cartoonish and silly, so it doesn't feel as realistic, I guess. Those are my thoughts on violent video games and just the whole situation there. Let me know what you think. Are games becoming too violent? Or do you disagree? Do you agree? And what can developers do to kind of change this perception in the world? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.